Good morning. We begin with this story. Yang Di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has called on all Malaysians to remain vigilant and take precautionary measures following the increase in the number of COVID-19 cases in the country. Controller of the Royal Household of Istana Negara, Major General Datuk Zahari Muhammad Arifin, said Al-Sultan Abdullah expressed hopes for the public, especially the vulnerable groups, including the elderly and those with comorbidities, to continue practicing the use of face masks in crowded and enclosed spaces. In a statement on Tuesday, the King said the people should also maintain physical distancing and adhere to personal hygiene practices such as frequent hand washing, which have been advocated since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Aside from these measures, individuals with symptoms are urged to avoid the 3 Cs, namely confined spaces, crowded areas, and close contact settings to reduce the risk of transmitting the virus. Al-Sultan Abdullah also expressed concerns over the possibility of public negligence, which may lead to a persistent increase in COVID-19 cases, especially during the current school holiday season, which sees an increase in movement and public gatherings. The Yang Di-Pertuan Agong also advised the public to stay informed about the latest developments on COVID-19 cases in the country and to constantly follow guidelines issued by the Health Ministry. Meanwhile, Transport Minister said that the wearing of face masks on public transportation is not compulsory for now. However, Anthony Loke said that his ministry encourages the public to mask up when using public transportation following the recent spike in COVID-19 cases in the country. According to Loke, the Health Ministry has not issued any directive on the matter so far. Therefore, it is up to the public to decide whether to wear face masks when using public transportation. He added, any policies or rules regarding face mask usage can only be established by the Health Ministry and that his ministry will not set its own policy on the matter. On Monday, Health Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad said the government does not intend to reinstate restrictions such as the Movement Control Order, MCO, at present, despite the recent spike in COVID-19 cases in Malaysia. He added that the situation was still under control and healthcare facilities were not burdened. A total of 20,696 COVID-19 cases were reported during the 50th Epidemiology Week from December 10th to 16th, which is an increase of 62.2% compared to 12,757 cases in the previous week. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim has been granted an inter-party injunction against Kedah Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Muhammad Sanusi Mat Noor at the Alor Star High Court on Tuesday. The injunction bars Sanusi from uttering, repeating and publishing defamatory and slanderous statements against Anwar in any way or form until the case is disposed. Anwar's counsel, Datuk Sankara Nair, said that Judge Mahazan Mat Taib granted the inter-party injunction application after hearing submissions from both parties on October 16th. The court then set the next case management on February 19th next year. Sankara had said that the application for the injunction, which was filed on July 26th, came after Sanusi's speeches made on 2 separate occasions at Jelajah PN Best Negeri 9 in Nilai on March 18th and Jelajah Selangor Baharu Selayang in Selayang on July 11th this year. This after the Prime Minister had filed a defamation suit against Sanusi on December 13th last year over the January Assemblyman's remarks during an earlier 15th general election political rally, claiming Anwar was a fraud, untrustworthy, unethical and had betrayed the people's mandate. Dr. Zaliha Mustafa will discuss the proposal to hold local council elections, especially in the federal capital, with the local government development minister, Ngakor Ming. The minister in the Prime Minister's Department for the Federal Territories said while there were matters of higher priority to deal with, she did not rule out the importance of such elections. According to Dr. Zaliha, she was aware of the proposal as suggested by certain quarters. However, she said it needed to be refined and that an in-depth study needs to be carried out first if the proposal was approved. She said this to the media after attending a welcoming ceremony and briefing held by Kuala Lumpur City Hall, DBKL, at Menara DBKL 1 on Tuesday. On Sunday, Kuala Lumpur DAP Chairman Tang Kok Wai called for the government to reinstate the local elections in the capital city to uphold democracy in the federal territories. The Churas MP had said reintroducing local elections in Kuala Lumpur would provide sustainability and give the residents the right to select their city council representatives. Tan also described it as the third vote, which may be returned to the people, which allowed the principle of no taxation without representation to be upheld and to ensure an effective, clean and people-centric governance to turn KL into a world-class city. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Ayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah on Tuesday conferred the Darjah Panglima Setia Mahkota PSM Award, which carries the title Tan Sri, on the Chief Judge of Malaya, Datuk Muhammad Zabidin Muhammad Dia. Zabidin headed the list of 298 recipients of federal awards, honours and medals in conjunction with Al-Sultan Abdullah's birthday at an investiture ceremony that took place at Istana Negara. At the ceremony, Al-Sultan Abdullah also presented the Darjah Panglima Jasa Negara, PJN, which carries the title Dato' to National Laureate Associate Professor Lim Swee Tin. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong also accorded the Darjah Johan Mangku Negara, JMN Award, to 10 individuals, including Selangor Police Chief Dato' Hussein Omar Khan. Al-Sultan Abdullah also awarded the Darjah Johan Setia Mahkota JSM Medal to 12 individuals, Bintang Ksatria Mangku Negara KMN to 40 individuals, Bintang Ksatria Setia Diraja KSD to 1 recipient, and Bintang Ahli Mangku Negara AMN to 55 individuals. A total of 178 individuals also received the Pingat Pangkuan Negara PPN Award from the King. In other news, 2 local men, a car driver and a motorcyclist, were killed when an uprooted tree fell on them while they were traveling along a road in Ampang, Selangor, following a storm on Tuesday. Ampang Jaya District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Muhammad Azam Ismail said police received a distress call on the incident at Jalan Utama in Kampung Lembah Jaya Utara at about 3:50 p.m. The car driver was pronounced dead at the scene, while the motorcyclist was rushed to the Ampang hospital but was pronounced dead upon arrival. The victims were identified as 64-year-old Radin Karim Radin Mamfuz, who is the car driver, and 23-year-old motorcyclist Muhammad Hishamuddin Ahmad Shakif. Both bodies are still at the hospital's mortuary, pending a post-mortem. Personnel from the Civil Defence Force and Fire and Rescue Department then conducted clearing operations to remove the uprooted tree. The cause of the freak incident has not been confirmed, but it is believed that the tree had rotted. Police are currently seeking a Grab driver for allegedly assaulting a foreign student from University Putra Malaysia, UPM, outside a hotel in Kuantan, Pahang last Sunday. District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Wan Muhammad Zahari Wan Busu said the identity of the individual has not been determined so far. Wan Muhammad Zahari said that authorities are in contact with the Kuantan Grab Driver Center to obtain details about the suspected assailant. He added that the investigating officer also had visited the scene along with the victim and recorded statements from witnesses, as well as reviewing the closed-circuit television CCTV footage obtained from the hotel's parking lot. Based on initial investigation, the injuries suffered by the victim were caused after she was struck with a hard object during the incident. The case is being investigated under the Penal Code for causing injury by dangerous weapons or means. Earlier, at a media conference held by Teruntum Assemblyman Sim Chon Siang on Tuesday, the 22-year-old student, a Chinese national known as Yuan, claimed that she was assaulted by the suspect when she and a friend were using the e-hailing service while vacationing in Kuantan. She said that upon arriving at her hotel from the Kuantan 188 tower, the driver suddenly attacked her using a hard object, which she believed was triggered by the way she closed the car door when alighting from the vehicle. The Shah Alam Magistrates Court will sentence 37-year-old freelance designer on Wednesday after he pleaded guilty last week to stalking a female photographer on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. Magistrate Sasha Diana Sabtu said the court would hear a mitigation plea by Muhammad Safiq Rosli's lawyers before determining his punishment. The sentencing hearing was postponed after Deputy Public Prosecutor Zilfinaz Abbas informed the magistrate that the prisons department was not able to produce Safiq in court on Tuesday. Safik, the first person charged under Section 507A of the Penal Code, had been in custody since August after he was denied bail. The new law, which came into force on May 31st this year, makes stalking, whether carried out virtually or otherwise, an offence punishable by imprisonment of up to 3 years, a fine, or both. Safik changed his plea last week and admitted to stalking 31-year-old Akasia Mardiana Daud by sending her messages on social media. It was reported that the police had confirmed receiving a report of online sexual harassment faced by the victim in 2018, and her ordeal was believed to have started since 2016. Her torment was revealed through an Instagram post when the victim shared her experience of being occasionally sexually harassed by the accused, including exposing the lewd messages that he had sent her. It was said that he began stalking the victim since 2017 and had followed her to a fast food restaurant, her house, and even to the United Kingdom at one point. We're going for a short break, but when we return, China's deadliest quake in years kills more than 100.
Fail Mahkamah merungkai kes-kes tergempar Malaysia. Laporan, siasatan serta prosiding kes yang telah dibicara ke muka pengadilan. Rangkuman kes-kes berprofil tinggi yang telah dipaparkan dalam fail mahkamah sepanjang 2023.
Ni nampak macam sedap je. Nak ni lah.
Ini produk terbaru kami, Siu Supering Cheesy Corn. Nak cuba? Cheesy Corn ni ditabur dengan sebut supering yang menambahkan lagi rasa kejunya.
Wah, bolehlah. Bagi saya cuba satu. Gabungan supering ni memang
Cik belum bayar lagi ni.
Maaf. Terlupa pula.
Dapatkan di Siu sekarang.
Cuti sekolah kembali. Jom kita main tanah liat.
Dan masa yang paling sesuai, kita ketahui cara-cara untuk menjaga anak-anak kita untuk proses berkhatan.
Cuti juga jalan-jalan, tapi privasi jangan dilupakan.
Pasang CCTV dan dashcam di kereta anda untuk membantu siasatan jenayah.
Soal wang, ini tentang ceti moden ataupun tawaran angsuran bulanan yang menjadi perangkap kalau kita tak mengetahuinya.
Isnin hingga Jumaat, 9.30 pagi, hanya di TV3.
Jika stream HD secara langsung di aplikasi Tonton.
Dengar cerita, Muaz Zabir dan Rina Diana dah ada orang ketiga. Yes! Embas lebih panas dengan hos terbaru Mek Yun in the house. Berita hiburan yang on.
Kuatkan iman dia, Dek.
Gosip terhangat setiap hari.
Kita orang pun gaduh juga sebenarnya.
Cerita terkini artis Slay.
Jiwa saya dekat
Saksikan
dengan
mereka bertiga dalam Embas setiap Isnin hingga Jumaat 9 malam. Lebih sensasi di TV3.
We're back with the foreign front. At least 127 people have been killed, while hundreds were injured in northwest China following the country's deadliest earthquake in 13 years. The fatalities may rise, with more than 700 reported injured in icy conditions. The magnitude 6.2 quake struck Gansu's Jishishan County at a depth of 10 kilometers around midnight on Monday. The tremors were also felt in neighboring Qinghai. Most of the deaths were recorded in Gansu, with at least 155,000 homes destroyed in the quake. 9 aftershocks were also reported by 10 a.m. local time, the strongest one registering a magnitude of 4.1. An earthquake in Yushu in Qinghai province, which is next to Gansu, claimed almost 2,700 lives in 2010. A volcano erupted in southwest Iceland, spewing lava and smoke across a wide area after weeks of intense earthquake activity. The Icelandic Meteorological Office said the eruption on the Reykjanes Peninsula, just north of the fishing town Grindavik, began Monday at around 10:17 p.m. local time after an earthquake swarm. The eruption, however, is not expected to bring the same level of disruption after the chaos that resulted by an eruption on the North Atlantic island in 2010, which halted European air travel. Local police had raised their alert level due to the outbreak, and the country's civil defense warned the public not to approach the area. Iceland has been on high alert for a potential volcano eruption for several weeks, where authorities last month ordered people to leave Grindavik as a precaution. At least 40 Palestinians were killed in the Gaza Strip in fresh air raids on residential buildings across the besieged territory. According to the Health Ministry, at least 29 people lost their lives in Zionist aerial assaults that targeted 3 houses in the city of Rafah, with many civilians feared to still be trapped under the rubble. Another airstrike killed at least 10 Palestinians at the Jabalia refugee camp, with more fatalities also reported from attacks in the city of Deir el-Bala, as well as Maghazi and Burej refugee camps. Meanwhile, talks for another truce between the sides continue with the mediation efforts led by Qatar amid repeated calls for the end of hostilities by the international community. At least 19,453 Palestinians had been killed in the Zionist assault of Gaza after more than 2 months of warfare. In the meantime, the United Nations Security Council, UNSC, is expected to vote on a halt in the fighting in Gaza after it was delayed by a day amid ongoing negotiations to stave off another United States veto. Another vote is expected on Tuesday if negotiations succeed in breaking an impasse 10 days after a U.S. veto, which saw an initial draft text prepared by the United Arab Emirates calling for urgent and lasting cessation of hostilities to allow unimpeded access of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. However, according to diplomatic sources, a new modified text is now on the table. It demands the parties to the conflict to fulfill their obligations under international humanitarian law and enable the immediate, safe and unhindered delivery of humanitarian assistance at scale directly to the Palestinian civilian population throughout the Gaza Strip. They added that the language had to be watered down and could be further weakened to satisfy Washington in order to get closer to a compromise. Fluminense book spot in the final. Sports after this breather.
Jangan pandang ringan dan mudah. Anggap batuk awak ini serius. Woods ubat batuk dengan rasa pudina. Memberi sensasi kelegaan di kerongkong. Berkesan melegakan batuk. Woods ubat batuk yang saya percaya.
Yana, Syira rasa dia tu sesuatu lah. Tak baik. Jangan berprasangka.
Okey, sorry. Jom Syira belanja makan ikan.
Sedapnya ikan bakar, ikan steam limau.
Yana, nak jaga anak OKU ni bukan mudah tau.
Betul, bukan tanggungjawab ibu bapa je, tapi masyarakat semua kena tahu.
Yana, peratusan orang kahwin ni menurun, tapi penceraian meningkat.
Kenapa jadi macam tu?
Sebab itulah kena ambil tahu hal pasangan.
Mungkin nanti sejuk hati dia.
Semuanya di WHI TV3.
Dan stream secara HD ditonton.
Wanita hari ini.
20 Disember ini, jom kita sambut parti jualan akhir tahun di Wow Dah Gaji.
Hanya untuk 1 hari, potongan harga tak henti-henti.
Mana dah dapat hadiah ekstra macam ni kalau bukan di Wow Dah Gaji?
Sambil shopping tu, boleh berhibur sekali. Barulah tak rugi. Memang paling wow lah.
Nantikan 20 Disember ini secara langsung pukul 9 malam hanya di TV3.
Wow, dah gaji. Belanja crazy, gaji ada lagi.
Ada drama barulah kat Facebook. Nak download lah tu. Ingat jangan download ataupun share laman web cetak rompak. Jangan.
Sports football, the 2023 FIFA Club World Cup. 2 goals in the final 20 minutes proved enough for Fluminense to book their place in the final after beating Al Ahly 2-0. After a goalless first half, veteran defender Marcelo won a penalty in the 67th minute. John Arias stepped up to calmly convert the spot kick. Al Ahly threw everything in, looking for an equalizer in the closing minutes, only for Fluminense substitute John Kennedy to score in the 89th minute with a curling left-foot shot after Martinelli won the ball on the edge of the Al Ahly area. With the 2-0 win, the Copa Libertadores champions will take on England's Manchester City or Urawa Red Diamonds of Japan in the championship match on Friday. On to Liga Portugal, Victor Gyökeres scored one and helped to set up another goal as Sporting Lisbon reclaimed top spot with a 2-0 victory over visitors FC Porto on Tuesday. The home side took the lead in the 11th minute when Gyökeres demonstrated his striking prowess as he calmly fired a well-placed shot to the near post, putting Sporting ahead at halftime. The visitors found themselves down to 10 men early in the second half as Pepe received a straight red card for punching Mateus Reis. The Lions capitalized on the moment as Gyökeres set up Pedro Gonçalves with a simple cutback for their second goal 9 minutes later, sealing a 2-0 win. With this result, Sporting are back on top with 34 points, 1 point ahead of Benfica. After this breather, over 83,000 ringgit worth of firecrackers and liquor seized. Don't go away.
Okay, jangan kecil hati nak abang, please.
Kalau you nak I bahagia, you kena jadi milik forever.
Maya, ini bukan tempat atau masa yang sesuai. Kalau wife I tahu macam mana?
Dah tanya ni, abang ada skandal ke?
Jangan nak bandingkan you dengan dia. I love my wife.
Kalau macam tu, saya nak request something boleh?
Cuti sekolah kembali. Jom kita main tanah liat.
Dan masa yang paling sesuai, kita ketahui cara-cara untuk menjaga anak-anak kita untuk proses berkhatan.
Cuti juga, jalan-jalan, tapi privasi jangan dilupakan.
Pasang CCTV dan dashcam di kereta anda untuk membantu siasatan jenayah.
Soal wang, ini tentang ceti moden ataupun tawaran angsuran bulanan yang menjadi perangkap kalau kita tak mengetahuinya.
Isnin hingga Jumaat, 9.30 pagi, hanya di TV3.
Juga stream HD secara langsung di aplikasi Tonton.
Banyak lemak, pasti ramai yang berhadapan dengan masalah itu. Lemak berlebihan boleh menyebabkan pelbagai masalah kesihatan seperti obesiti dan penyakit jantung. Ada setengah orang yang mudah bakar lemak, ada juga yang sukar. Mengapa perkara ini berlaku? Apa pula perbezaan di antara lemak baik dan lemak jahat? Banyak lemak, perbincangannya dalam Hello Doktor Ahad 5.30 petang di TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Thanks for staying with us. The Malaysia Competition Commission, MyCC, has identified 7 companies allegedly involved in fraudulent bidding practices over services and supplies worth 20.8 million ringgit for the Defence Ministry, MINDEF. All companies which were supposed to be rival bidders were believed to have conspired to manipulate the bidding process, which led to a rise in costs for public service projects, thus denying the entry of new players in the market. MyCC Chief Executive Officer Iskandar Ismail, in a statement on Tuesday, said the 7 companies had allegedly shared information, prepared a joint tender, and offered subcontract agreements as rewards. This led the government to incur losses due to rising costs and led to a waste of public funds. He said Agenda Exclusive Sendirian Berhad, Nikat Wajah Resources, and Star Apex Enterprise were involved in 4 MINDEF tenders, each involving 2 tenders in 2016 and the rest in 2020. He added that Prospectrum Sendirian Berhad was involved in a ministry tender in 2016, Spectrum Sendirian Berhad was involved in 2 tenders in 2020, while 1 tender each in 2016 involved Technocrat Makmur Enterprise and NK Panorama Enterprise. Iskandar also said that MyCC has issued a proposed decision against the 7 companies. However, it should be noted that the Commission's findings are based on its preliminary investigations, and as such, it cannot be assumed that any of the companies had breached the Competition Act at this stage. He further said that these 7 companies have an opportunity to submit their written representation within 30 days from the date the proposed decision was conveyed to them. After hearing and evaluating the representations as well as the evidence gathered during the investigation, the MyCC will issue a final decision on whether or not there was any breach of the Competition Act. In Kelantan, an Indian national as well as an Orang Asli man were among 6 individuals detained by the Customs Department for selling various types of smuggled cigarettes and liquor under the counter around Gua Musang last week. State Customs Director Wan Jamal Abdul Salam Wan Long said all the suspects in their 30s, 40s and 50s were nabbed during a 3-day operation dubbed Op Label Palsu, which began on December 11th. Now, he added that 7 premises were raided in the operation, which resulted in the seizure of 825 cartons of cigarettes worth 130,000 ringgit, 279 litres of untaxed liquor worth over 6,000 ringgit, and a cloned Honda Odyssey MPV, all valued at 176,257 ringgit. The Indian national has been remanded until December 26th, while the 5 locals were each released on bail ranging from 5,000 ringgit to 6,000 ringgit. Investigations are ongoing to determine the modus operandi used by the suspects in smuggling the contraband items into the state. The case is being investigated under the Customs Act and the Excise Act. Police seized 83,550 ringgit worth of firecrackers and arrested a 40-year-old man during a raid at a factory at Bakri Muar last week. District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Rais Mukhlis Azman Aziz said the suspect was detained after he was found storing firecrackers meant to be sold during the upcoming Chinese New Year celebrations without a valid permit. Now, the case is being investigated under the Explosives Act, which is punishable with a maximum 7-year imprisonment or a fine of up to 10,000 ringgit, or both if convicted. In another factory raid at Jeram Bukit Batu on December 13th, cops seized 451 boxes of liquor worth 160,000 ringgit with unpaid duties, as well as 200 litres of liquid suspected to be alcohol essence valued at 26,000 ringgit. During the 3 p.m. raid, authorities also nabbed 2 men, both aged 31, who were suspected of smuggling the untaxed liquor. 2 lorries which were used to transport the contraband items were also seized. The case is being investigated under the Customs Act, which carries a fine worth 10 times the value of the contraband and a maximum 5-year imprisonment term upon conviction. This time around, let's take a look as Argentina fans flock to see a huge mural of Lionel Messi unveiled in Buenos Aires exactly a year after Argentina won the World Cup trophy in Qatar. With that, I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for watching and stay safe, Malaysia.